Fang, this is possible, yes. Brother Fist did not have much of a background, and he hadn't heard the recent tales of Han Sen's accomplishments. Fang Jinky smiled and said, if Han Sen says okay, then everything will be okay. This guy is awesome, he can even slay super creatures. Fang Jinky had recently spent much time in his shelter, preparing for the attack. He hadn't heard about Han Sen owning a super pet, but he had heard of his initial slaying of one super creature. He just wasn't entirely sure if the story was true. Holy crap, you really killed a super creature. Hearing Han Sen say that, Brother Fist still struggled to believe him. Han Sen had arrived at the second god's sanctuary much later than Brother Fist did, and he lacked the confidence to slay even a sacred blood creature. Therefore, it was quite difficult to believe Han Sen already had what it took to take down a super creature. Why did you not say something about this earlier? If I knew you were this strong, I wouldn't even have had to talk to them. You could solo a royal shelter easily. I'm afraid this will be difficult. That's okay, me and Fang have a few people, and we can all accompany you. We are taking this royal shelter no matter what. It will be difficult not to incur any losses, but even if Qian Jiang and Liu Tai show up to take advantage, we can guard the place without error, Brother Fist said. No, I meant it is difficult to go now. If I go now, I won't be back in time for my lunch, Han Sen said. You don't need lunch. If we're taking a royal shelter, what use would it be to come back here? I will roast meat and heat up wine for you right then and there. My Fist family makes the best grilled meat, I'll have you know. All right then, let's go, Han Sen said. Are Fist and Fang Jinky crazy? They are actually going to try to conquer the shelter with just their own people. Qian Jiang and Liu Tai, after hearing word of their endeavor, were shocked. Upon leaving, they merely thought Brother Fist would renegotiate with Han Sen and have him take a step back. They never expected them to follow through with what they had said and actually go there with only their own men. Qian Jiang and Liu Tai quickly rallied their troops and went out near the shelter to watch how things fared for them. If they had the opportunity, they'd waylay and try to mooch off their efforts. If Brother Fist and his people were injured during their fights, but were overall nearing success, they imagined they could swoop in and claim the entire shelter for themselves. When they arrived, they saw Brother Fist atop his mount, racing towards the shelter. They were fast approaching the gate. Brother Fist did not falter or slow, and simply followed Han Sen's lead into battle. They were attempting to siege the shelter directly by attacking the main gate. What are they thinking? Do they honestly believe they can take on a shelter like this? Liu Tai frowned. Taking on a shelter from the front would consume far too much power, he thought. Many creatures poured out of the shelter to greet their would-be conquerors. There were wolves, bears, a variety of 10-meter-tall beasts, and a 50-meter-long snake. There were even birds, taking off into the skies so they could assail them from above. Han Sen was riding his golden growler, leading the siege. The spirit shelter was rather powerful, but it was still weaker than Princess Yin Yang's shelter. A green-winged bird soared through the skies like a green cloud that blotted out the sun. Its presence darkened the region as it descended. Han Sen did not blink, and merely waited for it to complete its descent. When it did, he summoned his flaming Rex spike and swung it upwards. In one hit, the monster was cut in half. Blood and feathers danced in the air like rain. Sacred blood creature hunted, green cloud eagle. The beast's soul has not been acquired. Consume its flesh to obtain a random numeric amount of sacred geno points, ranging from 0 to 10. Brother Fist and the rest, who witnessed this scene, were shocked but happy. They called aloud with grand excitement. Qian Jiang and Liu Tai were taken aback after seeing this. To see a giant sacred blood bird creature killed in one hit like that was a frightening thing. A 10-meter-tall beast roared. On his approach towards it, Han Sen leapt off of Golden Growler's back and brought his flaming Rex spike down on the creature's head. The weapon went clean through, splitting the monster in two, each split side of the beast falling a separate way as a heap of guts dropped directly down to the ground. When Han Sen landed, the Golden Growler was by his side. Immediately, he leapt onto his mount and continued the siege. He was an unstoppable force. A 50-meter-long snake now guarded their approach. Han Sen thrust into it with his Rex spike and threw it into the sky. While it was still airborne, Han Sen sliced and diced it into a rain of snake bits, which fell down to the ground with thudding noises. Countless wolves and bears were killed without reprieve, their charred remains illuminating the battlefield. The guy was a killing machine, and within seconds, he was right before the entrance of the shelter. The entire army did not slow down for a second, and immediately hacked their way inside. Who is this man? Qian Jiang and Liu Tai had questions coming out the rear. Brother Fist and Fang Jinky, on the other hand, were surprised. They knew Han Sen was strong, but not that strong. Under the pressure of his wretched, flaming weapon, not a single creature was given the opportunity to fight back. There, they saw a figure wearing steel armor. This person was 4 meters tall, and he wielded a great axe that was larger than a door. He was like a metal robot, standing vigil in protection of the spirit hall at its entrance. He was the spirit of this shelter. Hansen dismounted Golden Growler as the Rex spike in his hand began to spin. It spun faster and faster as Hansen approached the spirit, until the flames became a controlled tornado affixed to his weapon. The spirit roared and he brought his great axe down towards Hansen with both hands. The flaming Rex spike clobbered the great axe, shattering the blade in the process. The flaming Rex spike did not stop there, though. It pierced through the armor of the spirit and drilled directly into his chest. Hansen kept going, pushing the spirit into the spirit hall. Boom! The spirit was nailed to the statue, deader than dead could be. Hansen did not even look at the spirit, and just casually climbed the disintegrating body that had been pinned to the statue. Using it for better grip, the spirit's body provided the elevation needed for Hansen to effortlessly grab the spirit stone embedded in the statue's forehead. I, Steel Prince, am willing to submit and offer absolute loyalty to a new master. I will become a faithful servant from now until eternity. The steel giant responded via the spirit stone and pledged his allegiance to Hansen. He took off his steel helmet to reveal the face of a rugged man with long locks of black hair. Hansen put the spirit stone against his forehead, and in the bright light, the spirit stone combined with the entity of the Steel Prince. Then, he went into Hansen's Sea of Soul. Hansen's audience had their mouths agape. From the beginning, when they assaulted the gate, until now, effortlessly reaching the spirit hall and its master to finalize the conquest, it all happened in less than an hour. It was pulled off without a hitch at a blisteringly fast pace. The people who followed Brother Fist and Fang Jinky looked upon Hansen with great shock and were nearly traumatized by the repeated surprises Hansen had been delivering. The only ones in greater shock were Qian Jiang and his people. Get a fire going. It is time we feast. The royal shelter is ours. Brother Fist brought out the wine he had stashed on his beast mount. He raised it up and took a hearty swig. As the people warmed up, following their heart-stopping surprises, they began cheering in overwhelming joy. A lot of people had readied themselves to lose not only the lives of their friends, but their own lives as well. No one expected they would pull through without a single fatality, let alone a single scratch. Qian Jiang and Liu Tai watched the remainder of the creatures flee the shelter, in deep regret of their earlier decision. They did not expect Brother Fist to have found someone so strong, who could practically solo the entire conquest of a royal shelter. In deep regret, they wished they had accepted the new terms. If they had, they'd be inside reveling in the victory alongside them. But it was now too late for them to say anything, and they knew Brother Fist would not share the royal shelter with them. Brother Fist and Fang Jinky insisted on providing Hansen a share of the shelter's future income. After a contract was signed, the terms were for them to pay out a lump sum at the end of each year. Hansen remained at the shelter for one night, but rejected Brother Fist and Fang Jinky's request that he stay for longer. Upon leaving, he returned to the goddess shelter. Aside from Prince Steel, Hansen had also managed to obtain the giant snake's beast soul. It was a sacred blood-class metal-boned snake beast soul that took on the shape of a spear. It was a decent weapon. Of course, Hansen had no use for sacred blood beast souls anymore, and so he decided on selling it or at least trading it sometime down the line, if an alluring proposition or item caught his interest. Hansen rode his golden growler across the ice field. In his hands, a blue metal bell rested. This was the Death Knell's beast soul, and it was a pet beast soul. When Hansen held it in his hand, it looked like a toy bell. Seeing it there now, no one would ever comprehend what it must have been like to witness such a thing killing the blood centipede in the manner that it did. When Hansen first got this pet, he wondered how he would feed it. He didn't think it could consume meat. After conquering the shelter, Hansen tried to drip the blood of sacred blood creatures onto the bell. The result seemed a success, as the blood was absorbed by the bell, which soon after started to glow. That was when Hansen realized the bell drank blood. But it didn't drink any old blood. It only seemed to react to blood from sacred blood creatures. Similar to the little angel, it was a picky eater. Hansen wondered if, like with the little angel, sacred blood would not be enough to compel its evolution. He thought it would most likely require super creature blood to evolve into a battle mode pet. If this guy evolves into battle mode, could it be as scary as the original Death Knell? Hansen's heart was hopeful at the thought. For Hansen, felling super creatures was no longer an impossible feat. Therefore, attempting to evolve the Death Knell through the method he theorized wouldn't be an all too difficult task. On his return to the ice field, Hansen ran into Wang Yuhang. Or rather, Wang Yuhang caught sight of Hansen and then ran up to him. "Bossman, might you kindly sell me the life Geno essence?" Wang Yuheng asked, with a look of hope. The monster that guarded the blood spring was slain by Princess Yin Yang after Wang Yuheng drew it away. No body was left behind, only a life Geno essence. Sure, you still haven't cashed in your 30% from before, and after the latest hunt, you are owed an additional 20%. It's yours if you can cough up the other 50% of what it costs. But you must also keep the item a secret. You cannot tell anyone that you practically stole it from the Zhao family. If they were to learn we stole their super creature, I can't imagine they'd do anything kind to us, Han Sen said. I understand. I will tell the tale that this life Geno essence belonged to a creature we both found and fought together. I will tell this to my family as well. Aside from you and I, nobody else can possibly know, Wang Yuheng said, with a voice coated in excitement. Han Sen rolled his eyes. Zero was present, and she was most certainly aware of which creature had dropped the life Geno essence. He seemed to have forgotten about her existence. But regardless, Han Sen believed he wouldn't admit the truth to anyone. His own hide would be on the line if he did, not to mention his possession of a life Geno essence taken from the Zhao family would hurt his own family, if the truth were ever revealed. That was not to suggest Han Sen was afraid of the Zhao family. Han Sen looked for Huang Fu Ping King for assistance and brought a map of the second god's sanctuary with him. The shelter was enormous, and even with the powers of the Ares Martial Hall, it was difficult to compose such a map. There were a few 100,000 miles of uncharted regions, as well. Many known places were marked as danger zones, and lengthy journeys were only made longer due to the detours travelers had to make to avoid such treacherous places. These alternate routes often tripled the length of a journey, but unfortunately, there were many places that could not be avoided at all. The Ares Martial Hall paid hefty prices of blood for the cartography of such areas. The closest danger zone to the ice field, where no one was advised to visit, was called the Black Desert. This place was unavoidable, and it had earned an association with certain death. Inside the Angel Gene Corporation office, a man sat behind a desk. His face was gloomy. Zhao Heng and Zhao Heiyang were standing in the room, silent. With heads lowered, they could not dare look at the man before them. The man behind the desk looked to be in his 40s. He was fairly unremarkable in appearance, but his body exuded an aura of terrible power. Every faint movement he made was intimidating. Even though Zhao Heng was of the same generation, with his grandson at his side, he almost didn't dare steal the air to breathe in that room. He was the chairman of Angel Gene, Zhao Seventh. It was a very old-fashioned name, derived from being the seventh child of the family. The 6 brothers that came before Zhao Seventh were given much better names, but each of the 6 prior babies died during childbirth, and only Zhao Seventh had managed to survive. Back in that time, people were still superstitious, and the parents allowed a psychic to predict the life Zhao Seventh would lead. The prediction, however, stated Zhao Seventh would not survive the first 7 days of his life. These 7 days did not begin immediately following his own birth, but 7 days after his last brother died. Zhao Seventh would die 7 days from that day. The psychic foretold that the bad string of luck, which made the Zhao family's babies die, would end following the death of Zhao Seventh. If the mother was to make any more babies, they would live. 7 days after the 6th brother died, Zhao Seventh almost did die. Not wanting him to die, his mother did everything she could to protect him. She clutched Zhao Seventh in her arms and did not let go. A mother, who had 6 dead children, would not just sit idly by and watch her 7th baby die. On that day, his mother guarded him without rest. And something did indeed happen. The house collapsed, with the mother and son both inside. During the rescue operation, the mother was found crushed to death beneath the rubble. Zhao Seventh, however, was safe in the bosom of his mother's protection. She had died, but he had lived. He was fine, save for his mother's blood that soaked him. Upon his rescue, the baby was still licking his fingers and smiling jovially. And just like that, Zhao Seventh outlived his 7th day. Through his efforts, Angel Gene was built from the ground up, earning great renown for the Zhao family. It originally operated out of a small research facility, but it had since grown to become the Goliath entity it was on this day. Brother Seventh, I'm sorry, I messed it up. Zhao Heng was old, but in front of Zhao Seventh, he looked like a small, regretful child. His head was lowered and still, he did not dare look at the man. Everyone in the Zhao family was afraid of Zhao Seventh. They each spoke of how tough his life had been, and it was true. To develop Angel Gene into what it was, he had tread atop many corpses. Failure is nothing. It is mankind's habit to fail, and ill results are no stranger to any person. But those who do not recognize the mistakes that have led to their failure deserve a harsh response. Zhao Seventh looked at Zhao Heng coldly and continued, so tell me, what led to your failure? Zhao Heng, stuttering and tripping over his words, responded, I am sorry, but it was misfortune that led to our failure this time. We did not expect the Hill of the Spring to contain such a foul creature. And the boy, Han Sen, was not willing to use his super pet to stay the advance of the super creature. He also led it our way, and it was that action that led to the significant losses we incurred. Zhao Heiyang had not said a single word yet, but he chipped in to help Zhao Heng by saying, Han Sen tricked us. If he hadn't drawn the creature our way, we wouldn't have. Zhao Seventh looked at him coldly, and Zhao Heiyang swallowed the words he had yet to speak. It is my fault. Zhao Seventh looked at both of them when he said this. Calmly, he continued, it was my mistake for allowing you to tackle the foe without appropriate preparation. Leave now, but give Zhao Lion a shout. I need him. Zhao Heng and Zhao Heiyang breathed heavy sighs of relief. They left Zhao Seventh's office as if they had just dodged a death sentence. Not long after, a tall, middle-aged man knocked on the door of the office. He then entered. It was difficult for people to believe such a big and broad man, with a tanned face, had the name Zhao Lion. The name did not match the person, not by a long shot. Does the chairman have any requests? Zhao Lion politely asked. How are the angel gene fluid tests coming along? Zhao Seventh said, with a relaxed demeanor. Families always had at least one talented individual, and Zhao Lion was one of the younger family members he had taken a great liking to. Zhao Seventh gave him a lot of important tasks. We're still in the first stage of testing. Our results have highlighted the presence of a variety of issues and problems. Time is all they request, however. They'll get it fixed in due time, Zhao Lion answered. How many first-stage test vials were formulated? Zhao Seventh asked. There were 23 of them, Zhao Lion said. Give them to Zhao Long and his men, and have them kill Han Sen at his shelter. I don't care what it takes, Zhao Seventh coldly ordered. But the angel gene fluid is not yet stable. It has destructive results in the human body. If Zhao Long and his people use it, even if they succeed long enough to accomplish their task, they may not live very long afterwards. Zhao Lion sought to speak more, but what was cut off? The Zhao family has fed and cared for them, all for this day, Zhao Seventh said coldly. He continued by saying, it's time we attempt the fourth stage test. Observe Zhao Long and his people after they use the fluid. The data you will collect is imperative for the future success of the angel gene fluid. Yes, Zhao Lion did not say anything further. He took his leave and went directly to the 19th sub-basement laboratory. According to the Ares Marshall Hall's predictions, should nothing too awry present itself, it would take Han Sen a month to cross the Black Desert. If troubles did arise, no one knew whether or not he would emerge from that place ever again. Fu Pinking advised Han Sen not to go, saying that his mother was in a big human shelter, and that there was no danger there. Even if Han Sen wanted to give her something, he could have sent it via delivery. He didn't have to go in person. But Han Sen knew that what he wanted to give his mother was not something he could easily trade. That was why he wanted to go there and visit her himself. Don't worry, I have a super pet. I will be fine. Han Sen smiled at Fu Pinking while talking with her on the communicator. Fu Pinking merely sighed in response and said, do not underestimate that place. Our people have only traveled there once. A team comprised of 100 people were sent in, yet only 2 made it out half alive. Those who made it out weren't even sure how they did so. Their account detailed an encounter with a black dragon in the Black Desert. But another monster swallowed the black dragon up, and it looked like a phoenix. They spoke of mountains that moved, pits in the sands that consumed creatures, and worse. That place is far too dangerous for anyone to venture alone. How can dragons and phoenix exist in this world? This is not mythology, they are merely creatures. These beasts you speak of are most likely super creatures, at worst. And it's not like I haven't killed a super creature before. Han Sen smiled again. I know my attempts at swaying your resolve to go there are futile, but still, I would like you to think about it and perhaps reconsider, Fu Pinking said. Senior, when I make it to the other side, await my report. I'll make sure to contact you and let you know of my success in making it through. Again, Han Sen smiled. Okay, if you're that determined, how about you transport some beast souls on my behalf? Fu Pinking asked, with a wry smile. After his preparations were complete, Han Sen brought along the silver fox and left the goddess shelter. He traveled in the direction of the Devil's Mountain, and once over, he planned to veer away and head towards the Black Desert. But after arriving at the trail leading up and over the Devil's Mountain, he frowned. Immediately, he did not feel safe. I have walked this trail many times, there shouldn't be a threat. And I'm not Wang Yuheng, so I can't be unlucky enough to have misfortune befall me. Despite Han Sen thinking this, he opened up his Dongshuan Sutra to scan the surrounding environment for life forces. He wanted to see if there were any powerful creatures in the vicinity. In the next second, Han Sen's face changed. He sensed the presence of many powerful creatures all about. He could sense the force of these creatures, but he could not tell what they were. Still, just sensing such life forces was enough to make Han Sen almost panic. The energies he sensed were greater than sacred blood creatures, but not quite in the realm of super creatures. Han Sen was more than surprised, because he had never sensed something like this before. Each of the energy life forces were different, but when he looked deeper, the forces seemed comparable to his own strength. The fitness of whatever awaited him had to be at least 200. But this was a strange number. Sacred blood creatures don't reach such levels, and super creatures were never so low. Even the silver fox had a stronger energy reading. There were more than 20 of these life forces as well. Things were taking a strange turn. Shura. How is this possible? Han Sen saw that each person had a horn protruding from their head, the sign of a male Shura. But Shura were unable to exist in this place, as they could not use beast souls. But as clear as day, Han Sen could see them clad in beast soul armor, wielding beast soul weaponry. What is this? What's going on? Why are there Shura here in the shelter? Did the Shura figure out how to survive here in this world? Han Sen was shocked. If what he was seeing was true, then humanity was assuredly doomed. Quickly, however, Han Sen realized something was wrong. Although they had horns similar to the Shura, their colors were off. The horns of a Shura could be black, white, gold, and purple. There were no red horns, which was what he was seeing now. One of the blood-horned Shuras let loose an arrow from a beast soul bow. The arrow flew directly towards Han Sen with frightening power. It cracked the air in two and approached him quickly. Dong! The Adderade appeared in front of Han Sen and broke the beast soul arrow. But this did not appease or make Han Sen any happier. If anything, it made him look glummer than ever. The power of the arrow was almost as strong as what Han Sen himself could achieve. Who are you people? Han Sen called out, eager to know whether or not they were Shura. We are the ones who have come to kill you, the man who fired an arrow coldly responded. He gestured with his hand, and he and his 22 blood-horned compatriots charged towards Han Sen. On the other side of the peak, Zhao Lion was holding up a pair of binoculars. He was watching every little move with keen interest, and he recorded the results. First stage, Angel Gene Fluid versus a super pet. Let's see what happens. Zhao Lion looked excited, and he was eager to find out what was going to happen. But Zhao Lion knew that these evolvers, despite having a fitness level of over 100 and having consumed the Angel Gene Fluid, would still not have what it took to take down a super creature. Their primary target was Han Sen, after all. But no matter how strong the super pet was, there was only one of it. They would not be able to protect Han Sen when he was surrounded. It is a shame, though. It is a shame that I must sacrifice Zhao Long and all his people on the account of cutting down that Han Sen. We should have loosed these warriors against a super creature. Zhao Lion felt sorry because the beast's soul would disappear into the empty upon Han Sen's death, and Zhao Long would not be able to test his mettle against the super pet. The people who had consumed the Angel Gene Fluid were dead men walking, too. They could serve no purpose in the future. Dong! The Adderade swung her sword as Zhao Long and his people approached with firm haste. In a formation, they looked set to deal with the attack. The Adderade was a really powerful, oppressive force, but killing them in a short amount of time would be difficult. 8 of the people with blood horns surrounded Han Sen. The Adderade spread its wings and flew past the blood-horned Shura. She swung her greatsword and sliced the arm and shoulder of one. The blood-horned Shura that was dealt the blow, however, acted as if it did not even feel pain. Without a care for the bleeding puncture, it swung its beast soul sword towards the Adderade's neck. Other blood-horned Shura approached the Adderade as this went on, in an attempt to surround her. She swung her greatsword again and decapitated the Shura she had already injured, before dashing away to avoid the attacks of the rest. The blood-horned Shura did not seem to fear death, and this made it increasingly difficult for the Adderade to finish the fight quickly. The first stage Angel Gene Fluid is clearly not as effective as we would have hoped. Plainly, they cannot compete with super creatures just yet. Their effectiveness against an evolver with an open gene lock would be much higher, Zhao Lion thought to himself, as he recorded the combat data he was obtaining from observing the blood-horned Shura. Although he could not use machinery to more accurately log the battle and performance of the combatants, he had sharp eyes, and his records would more than suffice. But non-evolvers are unable to cope with the mutation of their genes. If they could, the Angel Gene Fluid would have been enough to allow humans to slay super creatures in the first god's sanctuary. It's a shame, really. Zhao Lion then turned his gaze to Han Sen, and continued to think, perhaps they may not be able to kill a super creature, but killing a human should be no problem for them. Even if he is a top evolver with powerful beast souls and a high fitness level, there is no way he stands a chance against them. While Zhao Lion was deep in thought, Han Sen summoned a crossbow that resembled a peacock. He withdrew a bolt from his quiver and loaded it. He wants to use a crossbow to kill the Shura. Pa, he is naive. With their speed, I doubt he'd be able to hit any of them, even if he had a Berserk Sacred Blood crossbow with Berserk Sacred Blood bolts. Zhao Lion raised his lips, confident in the Bloodhorn Shura. He had been in charge of the research program of the Angel Gene Fluid and was well aware of the terrifying power the subjects wielded upon consumption of the substance. Even elites with an open gene lock, upon facing one of these test lab Shura, didn't stand a chance. The only advantage such evolvers had were the skills of their open gene lock. But in every other facet, they would be inferior. The 8 Shura surrounding Han Sen began to swing their weapons toward him with bloodlust. Their power and speed made for a frightening combination. Eager to see what would happen next, Zhao Lion began to get excited. Experimentation and improvements to the Angel Gene Fluid were still ongoing. It would only be deemed complete when they could remove its negative side effects, and humans could freely consume it. Once it was complete, the Zhao family believed it would usher in a new era for humanity. Despite the scary Shura surrounding him, Han Sen raised the crossbow, which emitted a number of black flashes. The bolts pierced through each of the Shura's heads, one by one like the tumbling of a circle of dominoes. 8 of them were killed in no time at all. They all crumpled to the ground, none of them managing to get within 2 meters of the person they had sought to kill. How is that possible? No way. Zhao Lion's eyes were wide open in disbelief, having great difficulty comprehending what he had just seen. He did not understand how the Bloodhorn Shura could have been so easily killed by a crossbow like that. The super pet itself seemed to have a harder time killing its foes. Han Sen is stronger than the super pet. That's impossible. That crossbow must be a super beast soul. It's the only explanation. Damn it. How can Han Sen own something like that? How many super creatures has he truly killed? Zhao Lion quickly realized his mission today had failed. For as long as Han Sen wielded that crossbow, he knew the Shura would pose no threat to him. Thank you for watching. Subscribe and enable notifications so you don't miss the next chapter.